Hello everyone and welcome back to another team video. Today is my post AAMI community series team leading into round 0. Let's get into it. So I'm going to do this the same way I did it last time, which is pick all my squad for one line, go through it line by line and then wrap it up at the end. So let's start off with the defenders. So for my 3 defensive primos, I've gone with the top 3 here. I've gone with Naz, Sinclair, and Whitfield. For my 2 defensive mid-prices that I've gone with, they are Lockie Blackiston and Caleb Windsor. My on-field rookie is Josh Lindsay. And then my 2 bench rookies are Jai Sarong and Wade Dirksen. So let's go over this. I know the big elephant in the room here is that I have all 3 of Naz, Sinclair, and Whitfield, who all share an early buy in round 4. But God, Naz was incredible in that game. So was Sinclair, and that's why I feel I have to have them both. The choice was either having a second primo ruck or having Sinclair. And because of what the rucks have been like so far, I felt like Sinclair was the more safer option. Whitfield, he didn't play that many minutes in that game, but what he did play, it was a good showing given the conditions, given the small ground, given the wet weather. And he also has that incredible round 14 bye where it's only Giants and Richmond. And so I'm picking him to be a keeper. I'm picking 3 keepers so far. And I reckon those 3 will get a good level of scoring for my backline. To boost the scoring, I've got Lockie Blackiston and Caleb Windsor. I know a lot of people are picking and choosing between the 2. I'm picking them both because Lockie Blackiston, I've been hot on for a while. Not as long as Joe from the Centre Bounce who got me onto him. Shout out Joe. Windsor, the practice match, that was a good showing. So I've picked him in my team. Josh Lindsay has been in my team since day 1. It was a bit disappointing with the fact that Ryan Marrick had the role that we all hoped he would have. But I don't think it's going to stay that way. I think Lindsay's locked in for round 1. And I'd say the same about Jai Sarong, who looked pretty good in that game. Someone who I don't think is locked in, but should still be a good chance of playing, is Wade Dirksen. Now we have opening round for him, and he looked really good in that Carlton Geelong game. It's just job security is the question. But at 99.1k, I could easily pick a Jakes over him and then downgrade if Jakes doesn't work. But I'm going with Dirksen for now. Onto my midfield. First pick of my midfield, who has been the first pick of my midfield every single week, is Zach Butters. Then you've also got Nick Dacos. And I'm going with Sam Walsh as my 3rd midfield primo. Now, onto my mid-prices. Hayden Young is back in the team, along with Darcy Parish. And I've got Tanner Bruin and I've got Harry Rouston. This leaves 1 spot for an on-field rookie and no prizes for guessing that it is Jagger Smith. And then onto my bench rookies, I have Dyson Sharp. I have Arthur Jones. And I have Tom Blamers. So, Butters and Dacos have been locks for me. I think Butters, especially given that incredible game, and he's not going to face West Coast every single game, but he got 177, guys. Come on, like that is just incredible. You shouldn't be scoring that much, no matter who you're playing. Nick Dacos didn't play, but I'm not taking anything out of that. Zach Butters did play, and he lit up the park. So did Sam Walsh, which is why I've decided to bring him in this team as a cheaper premium. And while I'm not necessarily picking him to be a keeper, just want to have a look at something. So, Sam Walsh, last year, 100.5 average, and comes into this year with 544k, basically. Hugh McCluggage, in 2024 had an average of 98.1. And he went into 2025 with a price of 528k, which is around that Sam Walsh and LDU price range. He finished the year as the primo who scored the most points over the course of the year for the midfield. Of course, Bont and Butters did have a higher average, but they came in later. So Hugh McCluggage was one of the best scoring primos of last year, and the player who scored the most points in the midfield. And so Sam Walsh also has a history of scoring. In 2021, I believe, before I started playing, he averaged 117. And if we can get something like that from him again this year, with more reliance on him, then I'll be laughing. Hayden Young, Darcy Parish, Tanner Bruin, Harry Raston. Again, I've gone with the trope of not choosing between them, but just picking them all. And this is a bit of a theme in this team. I've been tinkering. I went from 15 premiums plus mid prices to 16, and I've now got it to 17. And I want to keep it that way because it means starting less rookies on field and starting more potential scoring. And with the midfield rookies not being that confident, like I've got Arthur Jones, who's a forward rookie, who's forward eligible in this midfield bench. I want to be starting as much of these players who could get really good roles. And I'm happy starting that risk. A lot of people aren't, and that's why they're only going with maybe 3 or 2 mid prices in the midfield. But I'm fine taking on that risk because if it pays off, it'll give me an amazing advantage going into the season. Bench rookies, quite vanilla. Dyson Sharp, Tom Blair's, they're in pretty much every team now. Arthur Jones is also a common one, but he's more often picked in the forward line bench, but we'll get to that later. The ruck line. This has been probably the line I've flip-flopped the most because I went from having Tim English and Tristan Cherry to then having Tristan Cherry and Luke Jackson. And now I go back to Tim English. And as I said before, no second ruck. I've gone with Lachlan McAndrew at my R2. And on my bench, I've gone to Liam Reedy. So Tim English, a stellar performance against my Hawks. And I think it was a 140 he scored. Cements his spot in my team. I think he's cheaper than the likes of Jackson. A lot cheaper than the likes of Sherry. And that money goes a long way to upgrade. Tristan Cherry, I still think the scoring will be there. I just think it won't be as much as we want. I think he'll still find a way to score 110 every round. But at that price, you're picking him to score 125 every round. And I don't think he's going to do that anymore. Another player who I don't think is going to score well is Luke Jackson. And a lot of people do think he's going to score well, but I don't know. I'm not convinced by the midfield, by Luke Jackson in the midfield. They've got a strong enough midfield as it is with Brayshaw, Sarong, Young. I don't feel like they really need Jackson in that midfield, and B, I don't think he'll generate a good level of scoring in that midfield. And I also don't think Jackson works in a team where he's not playing full ruck. I think he should be too good to not play full ruck. And if he was playing full ruck, he would 100% be my R2. But in a team where you've got Sean Darcy to come back in, you got Mason Cox, who might be a cheat code in this new ruck era. I just don't feel comfortable picking him. I know 30% are, and I understand the pick, but I'm not going there myself. Liam Reedy, I think he's going to play. He'll get maybe a 50, 55 round, and that'll get him up to 250k. That's the 100k I need from him, basically. Lachlan McAndrew looks promising. Should start round 1. Should have that ruck spot over Riley O'Brien. So, let's go to the forward line. If the ruck line has been my most flip-floppy line, the forward line has been my most, set in stone line. Because you've got Harry Sheasel, Krish Matraka, Sam Flanders, Devon Robinson, Philippou, and Leo Lombard on my field. All 6 of which were in my previous team. I think Devin Robertson comes on field from the bench, if I can remember correctly. I think I had him on the bench last team. Not sure if I had Lombard on the bench last time, but he's back on field. My bench, Tom Marshall has returned into the team, and I've paired him up with Lockie Doveston. So, Sheasel, Flanders, Philippou, they're all locks. They all performed very well in the practice matches. Someone who didn't perform as well as I wanted him to was Christian Petrarca. I think there was a lot more left to be desired, but what I saw from him, it wasn't bad. I'll say that. It wasn't bad, and I think with that opening run, I don't have Noah Anderson in this team. I don't have Matt Rowell. I don't have any other Suns players apart from Petrarca and Lombard, and I do want to take advantage of this run. From round 1 to round 7, it's an amazing run. And I also want to pick as many keepers as I can in this team. And so you see here, I've got Naz, Sinclair, Whitfield, all keepers. Butters, Dacos, 2 keepers. Walsh, very well could be a keeper. Tim English, keeper. And then Sheasel, Track, Flanders. I think those 3 are going to be keepers. So that is 9 keepers right now. And with the cash in my salary and 1 spot left in my flex, you can assume I'm picking a keeper in this flex position. And so that's 10 keepers, and I'm quite content with that, especially given I also I've got Walsh, and then I've got 6 other mid-prices, which gets me to that 17 premium mid-price range. And I think the less trades I can make over the course of the season to upgrade my team to max, the better. Because, SuperCoach is a trading game. It's a game where you trade to improve your team. And you only get a certain amount of trades. You only get 40 trades. So it's maximizing the value of those trades and minimizing the amount of value you need from the trades. And that's what I'm trying to do in this team. Devrob looked pretty good. Yeah, I think he got the most CBAs out of all the West Coast players. He should be a lock on the bench, if not on field. Leo Lombard, very good showing. Todd Marshall. Now, we all had him out of our teams after that first practice match, and now we've all brought him back in. And I'm not sure if he's a fieldable option. I think he's a lot safer on the bench, especially given we don't see opening round from him. But I'm fine going back. He had a lot of intercept possessions. He had a lot of marks, which is what I predicted he would do. And they also have a pretty easy run, which might not be good for defenders, but the DPP will help. And yeah, look at the run. He's against North, Essendon, West Coast, Richmond. Like that's just mental. And none of them really have that good of forwards or that good of tall forwards. And so that an interceptor like Marshall should be well positioned to score. Lockie Doveston, he looked quite good. He pushed up the ground. He got 14 touches. And I think at 136, he's going to be Isaac Kako from last year, but better. I think a lot less of a slow burn than Kako was. I didn't have him, but I remember everyone wishing they could get him out of their teams, but they couldn't. And so they were just stuck with him. But I think Doveston will be the one. He will be a chance to get up to 300k. And that's why I'm picking him in the team. And so the final player in my team, my flex, it is a primo. And it is Connor Rosie. I bet you guys thought I excluded him from the team. But no, I didn't. Because like Zach Butters, he also scored well. And like Zach Butters and every Port player, he has that unfathomably easy run. And I want to take advantage of that. Another keeper for my team. So I have 4 defender keepers. I only need to get 2 more in. Doesn't have the early buy. I think him and Butters should be the 2 highest owned primos. And they are, apart from Harry Sheasel. I think they should be, if anything, more owned than Harry Sheasel. But that's just my opinion. And yeah, easy run. No early buy. He does, I believe, have the round 12 buy. So I'm going to save my team. I believe he does have yes, he does have the round 12 bye, which is the one caveat to the port players. But as you can see from here, I've only got 4 players from that round 12 bye. And while we're here, let's go over the players that I have from each bye. So round 2 is a bit awkward because you can see there's 4 people in the midfield. No one else in any other lines, but 4 people in the midfield. I've got Dacos, Walsh, Bruin, and Smith. Sharp, Jones, and Blemairs will cover 3 of them. The flex will cover the 4th, but it's not an ideal position to be in. And so it's been one of toying with. Do I get out Sam Walsh? I've got 63k. Do I try to go up? Do I go down to get a LDU? I think it'll all come down to his opening round performance on Thursday against the Swans. If he does well, then I will keep him in the team. If he drops a score of maybe 100 or not even a ton, then it's safe to say I will probably switch him up. And you'll see about that in my post-opening round team that I will release hopefully on Monday after opening round. Dacos, I'm not moving him. Tanner Bruin could be one I move, but Jacko Smith's not moving. And I think 2 primos and a mid-price is pretty good for the first set of buys, given there's also Brisbane and let's see, there's Geelong. Yeah. So there's a lot of possible primos that could be out. So in on paper, that's a bad buy round. But given I don't have McCluggage, I don't have Smith or Holmes, I don't have Cameron, I think I've gone through this one pretty well. Another buy I think I've gone through pretty well is the round 3 buy. And so let's have a look at that. I only have Tim English and Christian Petrarca. A lot of people are going to have Bont. They're going to have Goulden. They're going to have Noah Anderson. They're going to have Heaney. No one's going to have any Hawks players because we don't have any good SuperCoach players. But I think getting out of this with only 2, Liam Reedy will come on to cover. You'll have Todd Marshall and Lockie Doverston. And then I'll still have the flex. So I'll have all 23 players scoring. And I think that's very good for round 3. I think this round is where I should get a good advantage on everyone else who's starting a Bont, who's starting a Goulden or a Heaney or a Blakey. And that'll come in handy because next round is not good. As you can see, I'm missing 6 players. 2 from the forward line, which is fine because Marshall and Doverston can come in. 1 from the midfield, which is fine because Sharp can come in and replace Rouston. But I'm missing 3 from the defense. I'm missing, and not just any 3 primos. I'm missing Naz, Sinclair, and Whitfield. And as I said before, this is the risk I'm willing to take to have these 3 players in my team. Because these 3, they could score 400 in a round consistently. You could have each of them going at 133 and you'll get 399 each round. And I'm happy to do that and to suffer through this bye period. And it's not even really suffering because I'll still have 22 players scoring because Rosie from the flex will come in to cover 1. Sarong and Dirksen or my other bench defense rookie will come on to cover the other one. So I don't think it's as bad as it looks. Now, we looked at the round 12 bye. I don't really have anyone for now. And given the bye is still 12 rounds away, you don't have to really focus on that, but it is still good to plan to know, hey, I've got Butters or a Shizzle or Rosie out. Maybe I don't trade in a Raul or a Noah Anderson before that period. Round 13 bye is the one with Giants and Richmond. Got Whitfield. I will probably get Ash. If he does well, I might get a Callahan. Those would probably be some of my first primos I trade in, just because of how easy this buy is. Won't have Rouston, of course. And so I should only have 2 or maybe 3 players out. Round 14 is, I've got Dacos, Walsh if I still have him, Young if I still have him. Pretty easy buy. Let's see who else plays during it. It's Fremantle and Hawthorn. So if I have a Jackson, if I want to trade in a Sarong, Hawthorn, no one plays for them. So round 14 is actually quite an easy round. So Dacos, Sarong or Anderson, or maybe a Darcy Cameron or a any of the Freo premiums that you're starting because they don't have an early buy is good because they don't have a bad buy round. And another buy round that on here doesn't look that bad, but I think it does have, it does have Brisbane and Sydney, who I don't have players from. And so it will be a lot worse if you do have Goulden and Heaney and McCluggage and Dunkley and Neal. But I don't see myself having too many of them unless they become keepers. And so that this buy round looks very good for me. No primos. And it's round 16 that is another annoyance, but that's just because I have a lot of St Kilda players. You do also have the Dogs and the Cats and the D's for that matter. So Gawn and Pickett and Windsor if I somehow still have him. But this is a buy round to maybe watch out for because you could see yourself having Naz, Sinclair, Flanders, English, Bont, maybe a Sam Darcy. You could also see yourself, if you start them, having the Geelong primos like Holmes and Smith. So it's one to look out for. Now, early buys, they're not something you have to really think about. Like, it's you don't have to say, oh, I can't have Bont because I'm going to have Nas and Sinclair and all these other primos at this time. But it is still something to have in your mind when making it, because if you can make it easier now, then it's a lot better. Like, I was watching the Centre Bounce stream on Monday, and Big J made a good point. This is the only time in the season where you will have $10 million. So you have complete freedom of how you make your team right now, and you don't want to lose. You don't want to not take advantage of that chance. And so with those wise words, I think I might wrap it up. This is the team: Naz, Sinclair, Whitfield, Blackiston, Windsor, Lindsay, Butters, Dacos, Walsh, Young, Parrish, Bruin, Rouston, Smith, English, McAndrew, Sheasel, Track, Flanders, Pooh, Lombard, Robinson, and Rosie in the flex. Those are my 23. Those are the captain's 23. And so with that, I will bid you adieu, and I will see you in the next one. Happy coaching.